All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We have about 65 people on the call today. So um, do me a real quick favor. Go in the chat function and just type in real quickly if you can hear me okay. If there are any problems with audio right now, I'd like to clear that up. But it's 2:01 on Thursday, August 27th. We are live, and we've got a lot of stuff to cover. So I'm going to be recording this session, and so it is going to be available on our webpage, on our blog page at strategic-wealth.net. And so we have a special offer today, and I don't know if you can see that. If you can, just type in yes and let me know if you can see the code here. If you use the code SWN Coaching, when you sign up for a pro annual membership, you'll receive 50% off of unlimited one-on-one coaching on your personal economy. Okay. And so why is that so critical that you receive coaching, ongoing coaching on your personal economy? Well, it's really simple. We're going to be going over a lot of topics today that may or may not pertain to your personal economy. And so if they do, if they resonate with you, then we want to know that. We want to know if you're interested in fixing the problems that you see right now in the economy and with your own personal economy. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is a real quick recap of what we talked about last week about your personal economy. And then this week, we're going to dive into wealth transfers and where we transfer our wealth the most and how we can shore up those holes where we transfer our wealth and capture and control more of the wealth that's flowing through our personal economy. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. I don't see anybody in the chat room saying that they can't hear me, which is good. That's excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, and we'll get going right now. Okay, so last week we discussed the real problem with traditional financial planning, and we talked about it in the form of climbing a mountain. It was basically the bottom line is, what is the objective of all long-term savings? What is the mission and purpose behind all long-term savings? Why are we not spending our money today? Why are we saving our money for the future? And the answer is so that we can have income streams at retirement. It's really simple. So having said that, if that's the objective, is the objective to just get to the top of the mountain? If you think about climbing a mountain, that's your accumulation phase of wealth building. That's where you're building the wealth. You're saving, you're earning interest on your savings, you're growing your wealth. But once you get to the top and you're ready to retire, is that the objective? Is that the end goal? Well, no. We believe that it's a two-sided objective. The real objective is to get back down the other side of the mountain safely. And so having said that, there are two interest rates that make up this equation, this climb up the mountain and then the climb down the mountain. The first interest rate is your accumulation rate. And that's what we call your pre-retirement accumulation phase. That's when you're saving your money and you're growing your wealth and building wealth over time. Well, there's also a distribution rate. And that is the rate at which you spend down your money or your wealth or your savings. Okay. And both are equally important. Okay. So understanding how retirement income streams work, the distribution phase or the climb down the mountain defines how we're going to pack our bag or what tools we're going to use on the climb up the mountain in the pre-retirement phase. Okay. So here's the story. Here's the question. If you were going to climb a mountain, wouldn't you get a guide, to kind of quote unquote, show you the ropes, so to speak? No pun intended there, but wouldn't you hire a guide to get you up the mountain? Well, what if that guide said that they were pretty sure that they could get you up to the top of the mountain, but they weren't 100% sure how you're going to get back down. If they said that to you, wouldn't you find a different guide? So the first question I want everybody to ask their traditional financial planner or their money manager or their wealth planner or whatever you want to call them, that money guy that you always go to for advice, the first question I want you to ask them is, what is your income plan at retirement? Again, let me say it again. What is your income plan at retirement? What is the distribution plan? All right. And so what traditional economists have looked at are average rates of return in the market. And what we're looking at here, again, just to recap, is from 1970 to 1999 were the best 30 years of the S&P 500. It averaged almost 15% rate of return. Okay. So most traditional financial planners will look at averages and say, okay, if you've built a $1 million nest egg and the average rate of return on your money, the growth of your money has been 15% all along, then you can safely withdraw your money at about 10% a year or $100,000 a year to live on and never really worry about running out of money because it's still growing at an average of 15%. Make sense? Well, we all know that not to be true. At least those of us who work with the Strategic Wealth Network and understand economics-based planning and how that works, we understand that rates of return vary. They fluctuate. And so it's this constant versus fluctuating returns that is really the problem with traditional financial planning. They don't take into account those fluctuations when you're withdrawing your money at retirement. So you can see again from 1970 to 1999, the best 30 years of the S&P 500, the average was 14.84%, almost 15% return. But look, in year one, it was 4%. In year two, it went up 15% or 14%. In year three, it went up almost 19%. And then it had 2 years in a row where it dropped substantially. So the question is, how does that affect your retirement income streams with those fluctuating rates of return? How do those fluctuating rates of return affect your retirement income streams? Okay. And so this is the exact same model. It's $1 million nest egg growing at an average rate of return of almost 15% and withdrawing $100,000 a year to live on. And you can see that if you compare the real rates of return, the actual rates of return during those down years, the first 2 years were great. If you look at this chart down here, the first 2 years were awesome. If you retired in 1970, in the first year, you pulled out $100,000 and you got almost a 4% rate of return on your nest egg. So you didn't lose any money really. The second year, the market went up another 14% and you pulled out another 100,000. So now your money's growing and you're spending it down simultaneously. The third year was even better. It almost got a 19% return that year. So you've spent down $300,000 of your $1 million nest egg, and look at how much it's grown to. You have over $1 million still in your nest egg, in your 401k, IRA, or mutual fund. Not bad. How do you feel so far? You're feeling pretty good about that right about now. The problem is that when you have volatility and the market goes down, which it did the previous 2 years, or the 2 years after, if you're still spending that money down at $100,000 a year, look at what happens. Look at how fast it depletes your nest egg. Within 5 short years, you've cut your nest egg in half. And of course, we all understand that if with that fluctuation and withdrawing your money or spending your money down at $100,000 a year, in this scenario, you run out of money in year 14. And so what's the solution for that? We know the problem. The problem is fluctuating returns versus consistent returns and how we don't take into account those fluctuations. That's the problem. What's the solution though? Well, what economists do is they run these Monte Carlo simulations and they go back about 100 years and they get averages. They work by averages, and they say, okay, if the market has averaged 6 or 8% a year for the past 100 years, then you should be able to safely withdraw your money at the rate of 5% or even 4%. Currently, traditional financial planners are saying that a 4% withdrawal rate is a safe withdrawal rate. So you won't run out of money before you die. My question to you is, when are you going to die? How long are you going to live? Do you know when you're going to die? Because I don't. I hope to live to be past age 100. And so if I retire at age 65, that's more than 30 years. You know, that's a long retirement phase. So what this chart is showing you is that if you were to withdraw that $1 million nest egg at the rate of 8% a year, which would give you $80,000 of income each year, then at year 15, you have a 60% probability of not running out of money. On the other side of that same coin, that means that you have a 40% chance that you will run out of money in 15 years of retirement. That's pretty scary. And at 20 years of retirement, after 20 years have gone by, remember, if you retire at age 62 or 65, you're in your 80s. You're still alive. And with medical technology and science and just technology and advances in medical care over the next 10 years, we're going to be living a lot longer, healthier lives. And we're going to be having more active lifestyles. These are the years that you're going to want to have carefree time and be able to spend your money however you want, whether that's traveling, whether that's going on mission trips, whether that's giving your money away, whether that's investing. I don't care what it is. You're going to want to spend that money. Well, look at year 20. When you're 82 or 85 years old after you've retired, you only have a 25% chance of not running out of money in 20 years if you withdraw it at 8%. Why is that? Because of the volatility. And so economists have come up with this 4% rule. We don't believe that the 4% rule is viable. In fact, we searched high and low for an economist to run numbers for us to find out what is the safest withdrawal rate at retirement based on the current economic volatility and risk. And they ran simulations. They ran over 50,000 simulations using their software and came up with the real withdrawal rate, the safest withdrawal rate, and they told us it was 2.8%. So if you withdraw your money at 2.8% per year, that is the safest withdrawal rate so that you won't run out of money before you run out of breath. Well, if you think about that, on $1 million nest egg, 2.8% is only $28,000 a year. How are you going to survive on $28,000 a year? That's the key question. That's the problem. And so we go to our personal economy again. And again, this is for those of you who missed it last week, this is a depiction of your personal economy. You have, let me just break it down for you real quickly. In this tank here, this is what we refer to as your income tank. And so we generate income in various ways. We either earn income, or we get it through inheritance, or we win the lottery, or we get passive income from investments, or whatever the case may be. I don't care where you're getting the money, but what happens is it flows into your personal economy in some form or fashion. Sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's quarterly, sometimes it's annually. We call that your lifetime capital potential. All the money flowing through your income tank is your lifetime capital potential. And that amount of money is finite. You know, we can only live so long, and we can only spend so much money, and we can only earn so much money. So the problem that we have is that we transfer our wealth in various ways. The first and largest wealth transfer that we see is through taxes. You know, as soon as we make money, as soon as we earn any income, the first thing that happens is we get taxes taken out of our paycheck, right? That's a transfer of wealth. And we're going to go into exactly how much wealth you're transferring today in taxes over time. All right. The second largest wealth transfer that takes place is by spending our money on our current lifestyle. Now, that could be anything. That could be, spending money on buying cars, buying homes, education, entertainment, food and groceries, traveling, all of this stuff. Basically, your lifestyle expenses. When you write a check or you spend your money, you're transferring that wealth out of your personal economy, and it's gone forever. It's gone and lost forever. And what's worse is you're not going to earn any interest on that money at all, right? Because it's lost. Well, how much money is that? Let's take a look at that, okay? So I'm going to say that, let's say that I'm 45 years old, which is my actual age today, and I plan on retiring at age 65. And let's just say for grins, I'm a doctor, and I'm used to making $300,000 a year in income as a doctor, as a physician, okay? Now, income should grow at a rate of 3% a year. That's inflation, all right? What we're talking about is the inflation rate. The Fed has stated inflation at 3%, even though they've taken out things like food and fuel that are growing much faster than 3% a year. It's costing us a lot more money to buy the goods and services that we need to live on a daily basis, okay? They're talking about other things that are involved in inflation, okay? And then let's pretend that you have a 401k or an IRA or a mutual fund or some kind of savings account with about $200,000 in it, right? In fact, let's drop that down to just 100,000. All right. And let's say that money is growing at 6% a year, which is the actual dividend that these insurance plans, these insurance contracts are actually paying today, is 6% dividend. Okay. Watch what happens when I hit calculate. So just between age 45 and age 65, earning $300,000 a year, growing at 3% a year with $100,000 in savings. Okay. This is the amount of wealth that is flowing through my personal economy right now in just the next 20 years. Okay. Just in income. In income, $8 million will flow through my personal economy in the next 20 years. So the first question I have is, how am I going to capture and control that $8 million and not transfer that wealth to someone else? Now, if you add the savings growing at 6% return a year, we're talking a huge amount of money. That's $15 million over the next 20 years, right? So the question is, how do you not transfer that wealth? What do we do? How do we not get into the habit of losing that money? Well, again, if we were able to capture and control all of our wealth from day one for the next 20 years and allow it to enjoy uninterrupted compound interest at 6%, remember these assumptions are all the same. We're age 45 to 65, earning $300,000 a year, 3% inflation. We have $100,000 in savings, growing at 6% a year. If we were able to capture and control all of that, we would have a nest egg of over $15 million in the next 20 years, right? But that's not what we do. In fact, that's far from what we do. The first thing we do is we pay taxes. Now, if you're making $300,000 a year, depending on your tax, the state that you live in, you could be paying as high as 35% in taxes. Okay. Now watch what happens when we hit calculate. If your tax rate is 35% right now on your income at $300,000 a year between state and federal taxes, you can see here that over the next 20 years, you're going to transfer over $5 million to Uncle Sam. And what's more painful than the transfer of that $5 million is you're never going to be able to earn interest on that $5 million over the next 20 years. That's a cost to you. We call that that's an opportunity cost. All right. So by paying taxes off the top, you're creating an opportunity cost of $5 million to yourself over the next 20 years, which is pretty alarming to most people. Okay. But it doesn't stop there. We have debt service. You know, we own a home. We have cars. We have student loan debt that we have to pay for. We've got credit card debt we have to pay for. Well, if you were to buy a home today and walk into any mortgage broker's office, the maximum debt to income ratio that you can qualify for a new home today is 35%. So that's why I put this number in here, 35%. So what that means is that out of all of the $300,000 in income that you're earning, only 35% of that $300,000 can be going out in the form of debt service. And that includes your credit cards, your car loans, student loans, and the new mortgage payment that you're about to make. All right, now watch what happens when I hit calculate. This is staggering to me. Over the next 20 years, you're going to transfer over $10 million in just taxes and interest expense alone. All right. And again, it's not just the $10 million that I'm worried about. It's the interest, the lost interest that you could have earned on that $10 million had you not transferred that wealth out of your personal economy. Okay. Is everybody following me so far? If you are, just say yes. Just type yes in the chat box. Okay, good. Awesome. Thanks for the feedback. If you have any questions, please just type them into the chat box. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Here's the tricky part. We also have to pay for our lifestyle. We have to feed ourselves. We have to clothe ourselves. We have to sometimes go on vacation to get away, to take a break. Now, it's estimated that we spend anywhere from 20 to 40% of our gross income on our lifestyle expenses. That's food, fuel, housing costs, medical costs, vacations, everything combined. We don't have enough money left. And so what I'm going to say is just 25% of your wealth is going out in the form of lifestyle expenses. Now, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is that leaves you with very little money to begin to start saving for retirement, for the future, for income streams at retirement, right? Because you've transferred all of that wealth. Watch what happens when I hit calculate. This should be shocking to you. Over the next 20 years, if you're in the 35% tax bracket and you're paying credit card debt, student loan debt, car loan debt, home loan debt, and you're spending 25% of your money on lifestyle, on your living expenses, you're transferring over $14 million in the next 20 years. That's a transfer of wealth. And again, that's not the most painful part to me, not the transfer of that money. It's the lost interest that you could have earned on that money had you not transferred that wealth. Make sense? That's the scary part. So how do we fix this problem? Well, what we teach our clients to do is to reverse this situation and not pay taxes off the top, not pay for your interest on your credit cards, your car loans, your student loans, your house loan, all of that stuff, but capture that money first in some kind of an account where it will grow and not be interrupted and be able to compound continuously. All right. And if you were able to capture 100% of your wealth and let it grow at 6% compounded annually, at the end of 20 years, that wealth will have grown to $15 million. All right. Now, how do you pay taxes? How do you pay for debt service? How do you pay for lifestyle expenses? How do you work this system? Well, that's where your personal economy comes into play. And to be honest with you, sorry about that. That's where your personal economy comes into play, and the life insurance count comes into play. What we teach our clients to do is, as money flows into your money tank, into your personal economy through various sources, whether it's earned income or whether you sell an asset like a home, or you liquidate an asset or an investment, or exit an investment, wherever you get that money, what we show clients how to do is to lock down this tax valve immediately so that they don't transfer that money to Uncle Sam. Take a little bit of energy and effort, divert that up into your life insurance account where it's safe and liquid and growing at a good rate of return. Remember, this money continuously compounds over time. And then when you want to spend money on your lifestyle, what we simply do is we simply just shrink this valve down to where you're not spending your money, but you are collateralizing your life insurance cash value, borrowing against it, and using the life insurance company's money to pay for those expenses, or even to pay the tax man, to pay Uncle Sam. Okay? Now, what happens when this loan continuously accrues? Because this loan is going to continue to accrue at whatever interest rate you're being charged until it's paid back. So what happens to that loan and your wealth while this whole system is being worked? Well, when you get new money in from either Social Security or another asset that you liquidate, you have to put that money somewhere, right? Where are you going to put that money? You have to warehouse your capital somewhere. And so what we recommend to our clients is just simply put it back into your life insurance account, pay off that loan completely, add more to the balance, allow it to grow and compound more quickly. And then if you want to, you can just borrow money against it, collateralize that account again, and do the whole thing all over again and spend that money, or pay the taxes using borrowed money from the life insurance company. Okay? It's that simple. That's our plan. That's our strategy. All right? But the concept really is about wealth transfers, and how do we not transfer our wealth unnecessarily and unknowingly? Well, the only way to do that is to reverse the order of events. Change the way you spend your money, in other words. Don't spend your money on taxes, on debt service, on lifestyle. Instead, use the life insurance company's money and spend their money on those items. Use their money to pay the tax bill. Use their money to borrow and pay for your living expenses. And then when you get new money in from your job or income streams from selling a home or anything, my wife and I, we recently sold our duplex, and we netted after fees and everything, we netted about $100,000. Okay. And so what we did was we immediately dumped that $100,000 into life insurance. Okay. And so we set up 4 different life insurance accounts, and we captured all of that money. Okay. We immediately went out and borrowed against that account because we both needed to buy a new car. So we borrowed or collateralized the cash in our life insurance account, and I went out and I bought a truck with it. Borrowed $32,000 and spent $32,000 on a truck. Now, every time I make more income from our passive investments or our real estate properties or ordinary income, all I do is I take a little bit of energy and effort, I pump it into this life insurance account, and I'm just slowly paying down this loan on this automobile until the loan is completely gone. Now, if I liquidate an asset, if I'm able to liquidate another property and I get a big chunk of change, I can pay that loan off immediately and be free and clear and take the lien away or take the, free up this collateral to do the whole thing all over again. Make sense? So the concept here is not really life insurance. The concept is, how do we not transfer our wealth unnecessarily through taxes or lifestyle expenses or anything else? How do we lock down these valves here? And even, think about it this way. It doesn't have to be just lifestyle expenses. You can literally roll all this up and call it an investment. If you were to, let's say you had a property that you wanted to invest in. If you were to take your cash that you've saved and deplete that money and invest in a property, a real estate property, all of your money will be gone. Let's say you save your money. Let me start over. What would it look like if you were to invest in a rental property, for example? So you start saving your money. You've saved a ton of money in some kind of savings vehicle. It doesn't have to be life insurance. And then you invest that money in some kind of an investment opportunity. And maybe it's a cash flow investment property. Maybe it's a rental property that's cash flowing. All right. If you were to do that, you would be depleting your savings, right? You deplete your savings and you'd invest it. And so now all your money's at risk in this investment. Can the property go up in value? Yes, it can. Can the property go down in value? Yes, it can. Can the property be foreclosed on in the event of a lawsuit or a judgment or a creditor coming in and taking that asset from you? Yes, it can. You can lose that money. And so the safest way to do that is to not invest your money, but to simply collateralize your account, borrow the money from the insurance company, take all of your collateral, all of your income, dump it into life insurance. Sorry, let me start over. So the proper way to do this is to take all of your income or any income that you get, dump it into life insurance where it's safe and liquid and earning a good, safe rate of return. And then when you do find an opportunity to invest in, you just simply collateralize that account, borrow the money from that account, invest it in the asset, watch your asset grow over time, and whenever you want to liquidate that asset, if you sell that asset off, and you just simply put that money back into your life insurance account, which does what? Allows you to pay off that lien. It allows you to add more to the total balance and then just do the whole thing all over again. Collateralize your account, invest in another asset, liquidate the asset, sell the asset, dump it back in the life insurance account, and you've not disrupted or interrupted your compounding of your interest on your money. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, just type yes in the chat window there. Okay. All right. So we're coming up on 2:35. We try to keep these short and sweet, about 30 minutes long. So next week, we're going to take it to the next level, and we're going to say, okay, economically speaking, if I do this and I borrow money from my account and I use that borrowed funds, how does that affect me economically down the road? Won't I always have a loan outstanding? Well, we're gonna go into that next week. So with that in mind, we're gonna close there. And if you have any questions, if you need any advice, if you need any guidance on your own personal economy, download our Fact Finder or get in touch with us and download your Fact Finder worksheet so that we can get a snapshot of your current personal economy and what that looks like. And then we can come up with a game plan on how to fix things by just repositioning your assets around the chessboard, so to speak. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope so. All right. I'm going to let you go. Have a great week. And next week, we're going to be talking about how do we create efficient sources of income streams at retirement. All right. Have a great week, everybody.